I would like to thank all the resource persons, scientists on behalf of me and myself and all the team of Mysore Science Foundation for making the decennial function a grand success that run for 2 days and the grand expo. Most of the Mysoreans and also neighboring even the towns and all the students more than 10,000 they have attended and teachers and others. Thank you all. And this is the first webinar here. And I want to make one thing on one request to Mr. Chaturved and also Santosh to make clear about this the postcard. They don't know what exactly mean by postcard and how to use it. Everyone will ask just what is it, and it is not going by WhatsApp and all. So, anyways, I think you will make it clear at the end. And this is the one of the most beautiful day and also one of the most beautiful session because moths as usual every year I would have to thank and also welcome and introduce our dear Chaturved sir. Chaturved is a naturalist and he loves nature so and so much that he himself has introduced to this subject on his own interest, on his own accord, of the favorite and most beloved uh, late Sri Harish Arbhat sir, and who stood always by us. He was one part of all our organizations. Now he is the co-founder of the same Harish Arbhat Science organization, and also he stood by Mysore Science Foundation every time. I don't remember any time he had denied any of our requests about all this, or maybe butterflies or moths or whatever the nature walks or nature aspects any time. Now I want to welcome once again. I need not say much about because you are very much interested to see the moths and know about it and listen about it. And I just say all the students, please attend the webinar so that you will get a lot of information about the moths because we are going to compete in this postcard moth and its habitat competition. And thank you, Mr. Chaturved. Thanks on behalf of all of us. And I welcome our webinar students and listeners. And now let's open the
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good evening, all. Thanks for spending your valuable time with us on this Sunday. Globally, we are celebrating or observing National Moth Week, and from 22nd to 31st of July, every year is observed as National Moth Week, account of which we are conducting a postcard painting competition and also national level webinar on moths. One of the beautiful organisms on the earth is moths. We call them as jewels of night. If butterflies are jewels of day, moths are jewels of night. First and foremost, we all know that insects dominate entire animal kingdom. The word insect is derived from the Latin word insectum, which means cut into section. We all know dissection, that is dissecting. Insect means three body segments come together as a one segment. They have head, thorax, and abdomen. All insects will have six legs. Sometimes two front legs might be hidden in case of butterflies and few beetles. That is why they belong to class Hexapoda because of six legs and two pair of wings if they are flying and compound eyes and one pair of antennae. This makes an insect as an insect. As I said, 90% of animal life forms on earth are made up of insects. We have 50 lakhs plus species of insects, and they are one of the most diverse group of animals. Insects are the only invertebrates which are able to fly. Birds, they have bones. Bats, They are the only true flying mammals. Apart from birds and bats, the flying insects, flying jewels are insects. Without bone, they are able to fly. That is why they are the only invertebrates that are able to fly. And moths and butterflies form the second largest insect group. As I said, insects itself is the largest members in animal kingdom, out of which moths and butterflies form the second largest insect group, followed by beetles. And both butterflies and moths are the only insects to have scales on their wings, which gives them beautiful colors, patterns. Butterflies and moths belong to the same order Lepidoptera. In Greek, lepis means scales and ptera means wings. So these are the only insects to have scales on their wings. You can see these are complete moth specimen photos. Next, further order Lepidoptera is divided into two subgroups. One is Heterocera, which means varied antennae. That is how we can differentiate butterflies and moths very easily. In case of moths, if you see, antenna might be backwards or sidewise. Whereas for butterflies, it will be always pointed straight forward, and there will be ball like structure clubbed at the tip, sometimes hooked in case of skipper butterflies. This is one of the most commonest difference between butterflies and moths. If you have a close up look, this is how you look, moth's antennae. It might be feathery. It looks like a bird feather or a leaf structure. It might be two sides or just one side feathery. This is a unique characteristics of a moth. As I said, butterflies will have this clubbed antennae. At the tip you can see small ball-like structure or bulged. We only think butterflies are very colorful, fascinating. Look at this collage. Now just imagine yourself, how come moths are also not colorful? They are also equally colorful, but 90% of moths are nocturnal. Hence, only few moths what we see are day will be bit dull in color, pale in color to escape threats. These are the beautiful hawk moths, and one of the interesting feature of a moth, they form a plane shape or jet shape or A shape kind, which butterflies don't have. So during the adults when they rest, all these moths form a jet shape or triangle shape. This is also a common difference between butterflies and the moths, and these are different hawk moths. Photo taken by our Saurabh, one of my friend in Sirsi. And also fruit piercing moths. This is also one irregular shape of moths. When it has closed wings, you can see how they look like. Sometimes they look like a leaf. If they're open, there's a patch. All have orangish to reddish, yellowish shade where black spot varies. So different species. A minute spot, if it varies, a species varies. Hence, moths is also a bit complicated in identification. Based on morphological, it will be a little difficult. Whereas there are few moths which can be identified very easily and can be differentiated from butterflies. They all have orange wings. Let us see a few notable and mesmerizing moths. White witch moth, which has the longest wingspan from this tip to this tip, it is close to 30 centimeters. Hence, this moth has the longest wingspan. And we all know very famous, very notable, world's largest moth, Atlas moth. The beauty of this moth, in their adulthood, they don't eat food at all. They don't have other body parts to feed on any nectars or liquid diet. Just imagine a adult moth without food, they long last for 1 week, 2 week, close to months together, they live without food. And if you look up closely at this tip, it has snake-like pattern. The one of the interesting feature also, both moths and butterflies cannot sting like other insects like honeybees or wasps and bite like ants or some beetles. That is why they are very sensible, delicate. So this is also one of the escaping mechanism. It looks like a snake head. See on the tips, it exactly looks like a snake head. World's largest moth, and here its antenna is double-sided feathery. And apart from having scales on their wings, evolution in the process of evolution, butterflies and moths have something called proboscis, from which they suck nectar from flowering plants, from flowers. And this is also one of the unique characteristics of a Lepidoptera. That is, both butterflies and moths have this proboscis. And this moth, convolvulus hawk moth, has the longest proboscis. It is almost longer than its body size comparatively. And one of the popular moths, we say Madagascar sunset moth. Most of stamps, pictures, designs, colors, this moth has been used. So they call one of the gorgeous moth Madagascar sunset moth. And let us come to our few moths which we can see in Bangalore, Mysore, India, and some parts of Karnataka. We call it as moon moth or Luna moth. Look at their antennae, how they are, and also their long tails. This is also one of the reason how they escape from its predators, bats. Beautiful moth, one of the, you can see like moon-like structure also here on the wings, and these are small eye-like structures which confuses and scares other smaller organisms. This is Malaysian moon moth. Northeast region of India, we can see this beautiful moth. The purpose of having the long tail is to escape predation from bats. Bats use echolocation. We all know how they find its prey during the night time, and because of this small thread-like wings, they escape from bats. And very common, if you have a nerium plant, you can see a big green color caterpillar, and that caterpillar turns to oleander hawk moth because of the oleander flower. What we say in Kannada, kanagle. You plant that plant, and definitely you will have this guest. Next, Apatani glory moth. This was a recently discovered moth from the village Apatani from parts of Arunachal Pradesh. This is a new addition to moths of India. What is mothing or moth watching? It doesn't mean catching, it simply says you should observe. One should have keen eyes to observe small things in nature, and this is one of my famous quote which I keep telling to all my students and the common public. No matter we have four eyes or big eyes, small eyes, we should always have keen eyes to observe small things in nature. And perhaps this is a death's headhawk moth. This moth is one of the beautiful moth. Don't know how come it sat on my hand, and I started looking at it closely, and I could see. It has two eye-like markings and a big jaw kind, nose, chin. That is how it is called as death's hedgehog moth. Perhaps I can see my entire long nose, eyes, and the chin in this moth. Let's understand few behaviors, characteristics of moths. All moths and butterflies undergo complete metamorphosis, that is, complete life cycle. Whereas if you see a mosquito or a odonate, they have only three stages. Few other insects have three stages, but Lepidoptera has complete metamorphosis, having four stages, starting from egg, caterpillar, this cocoon of a pupal stage, last is adult stage. Four different stages consume four different amount of time for development, and they completely look different. You compare egg or caterpillar or a cocoon or butterfly, only 30 to 40% resemblance will be there, but they look completely different. We all know caterpillars are one of the eating machines. They are known for eating because caterpillar is the only growing stage in a lepidopteral life cycle. That is why they keep feeding. Two things are very striking if you observe a caterpillar. Either they will be resting or they will be eating. All parts of plants, be it flowers, buds, shoots, stems, leaves, all edible parts caterpillar can feed on. And one of the unique characteristics and feature is adult coming from its cocoon. I've been working on butterflies and moths close to more than 8 years. Only few times I've seen butterflies coming out from its pupa, moths coming out from its cocoon. You might see a lion or a tiger or a king cobra in a forest, but having this sight, adult coming out from its pupal case is one of the best sighting in nature. And I was fortunate enough during 2020 lockdown, I came across this caterpillar on the street. I brought it to my home, started rearing it. I understood which is its host plant and started feeding those leaves. And you can see they are feeding. Once they are feeding, they also defecate. All these green small balls like structure are its waste. This act as a fertilizers, manure for, sorry, not fertilizers, manure for plants. So caterpillar eats plants and they defecate there. And again, this is a acts as manure to plants. And next, over the weeks, once they are fed completely, they form this a cocoon kind. Butterflies pupa will have a support. They might hang on a plant or a leaf or stick to a stem. But whereas cocoon moths form this kind of cocoon, no support, but it becomes a hard shell-like structure. Day by day, you can see there's a change in color. They become very dark. After dark, they become very weak. That is when moths can break this cocoon case and emerge. Here you can see like the body folded wings. Here is a head and antenna part. And next, I was not at home, and perhaps in the midnight it came, emerged out from its cocoon. See, this is the moth. You all can rear have it feed those plant leaves which can feed on, and you can start observing. You can measure its growth, how many leaves it is eating in a day or hour, and what is the growth size of a caterpillar. Simple observation, you can learn mathematics, you can learn geometry, you can learn physics, science. Moths and butterflies are not only for ecology or biodiversity, biology, they teach us so many things. As I said, Moths and butterflies cannot bite or sting. So, how do they escape? First and foremost, camouflage patterns. These white moths are very bright in color and daytime they are easily seen. But they rest on these green leaves or barks so that they look like bird droppings. We can make out it's a moth, but smaller organisms with smaller brains easily gets confused. Like few birds, lizards, snakes, bats, they get easily confused. And look at this moth. It has extra markings also, which looks like fresh bird dropping. This is completely white with small black dots. But look at this moth, which has markings which gives appearance like fresh droppings. And these are owl-eye moths, common owl moths, sometimes very common. Near our tubelets, they keep flying and come inside our rooms also. You can have a look. And they have owl-like markings. Many insects or other reptiles are scared of these birds of prey. So they have big eye-like structures to scare them and these can escape easily. See, it looks like a big owl-eye structure. Even in this Spirama species also, common owlet moth we say, and few silk moths, emperor moths have small rings. For us, it's rings, but if you have a close-up look, it looks like our eye-like markings. So as I said, for smaller organisms, they can confuse very easily and escape threats. Few caterpillars have horn-like structures, thorns kind, and few caterpillars are like ball shape, well camouflaged on leaves because they can also be easily spotted. There are specialized wasps which search out for caterpillars. Birds, 90% insectivore birds feed on all these caterpillar and worms. Again, they want to escape this predation. Next, why do we require moths? Let us understand ecological significance. They are good pollinators. As we all know, 70% of food what we eat are pollinated by insects, out of which moths and butterflies are also one of the best pollinators, followed by honeybees. One of the greatest mathematician, physician, Sir Albert Einstein has told, if the bee disappears from the surface of the earth, man would have no more than 4 years to live. Not only man, almost all living organisms. So if there is no pollination, no growth in plants, they can't give off flowers or feed like seeds, fruits, and that is how they affect our entire living system. And majority of main insects are studied as indicators. If you see and observe mosquitoes, that indicates there's a contaminated water body or some polluted water bodies. If you see good number of dragonflies and dancerflies, oh, there's some freshwater body like a pond or a river or a lake, stream, whatever it is. And if you see lots of butterflies, okay, there are good flowering plants. If you see lots of moths, again, good nectar plants and host plants. Food chain and food web, as I explained and told earlier, 90% of insectivore birds feed on all these caterpillars, butterflies, moths, other different beetles, worms. And in India, more than 95% of spiders are insectivore. Few bigger spiders like tarantula can feed on larger organisms like lizards, but majority are insectivore. Spiders build a web, and all butterflies and moths which are able to fly in different levels will stick to spider web and spiders can feed on them. So butterflies and moths feed birds, spiders, and other insects also. They have very important role in food chain and food web. Next, sericulture. We all know India and China are the largest silk producers, out of which Karnataka state and Ramnagar district is known as Silk City, land of silk. So we also produce good amount of silk which has best economic value. And moths and host plant interaction. Not moths and butterflies teach us only physics or mathematics or some geometry symmetry patterns. They can also teach us botany. I started observing plants, documenting, teaching about plants because of looking at moths and butterflies. They are the best botanists in the nature whom we can see and learn. A silk moth knows which is a mulberry plant and it lays eggs only on mulberry plants and at the same family members or genus. If you look at a lime plant, lime butterfly, it knows which is a lime plant. You keep aloe vera, you keep tulsi, you keep rose plant and lime plant. A lime butterfly knows which is its host plant. And all moths and butterflies lay eggs only on their host plants. Those plants which are selected by Lepidoptera, that is moths and butterflies to lay eggs, are known as host plants. So they lay eggs only on host plants, and there are few orchids, flowers which are pollinated only by butterflies and moths. If there are no pollinators, no flowering plants, and if there are no host plants, no certain host moths and butterflies. Hence, this is also one of the serious interaction, a good interaction happening in the nature, which we want to look into it in detail. I explained food chain. You can see how bats are hunting on moths, spider is feeding on a hawk moth here, and birds are different insectivore birds mainly feed on worms, caterpillars, and this is a picture. And next, as I said, few wasps. They are parasitic wasps. They hunt for caterpillars and they lay eggs on these caterpillars, and also they sting these caterpillars and carry it to its nest, lay this eggs on it, and that wasp also carries those leaves so that caterpillar is alive and it keeps feeding. Eventually, all those eggs will turn to wasps and they come out. All those wasp larvae emerge out. So they want something fresh food, live food. See, a wasp is calculating how much a caterpillar is eating, what leaf it is feeding on. Different insects, different wasps also feed on caterpillars and insects. This is one of the now our hawk moth caterpillar again infected by wasp eggs. Next, pollinations. If you look at almost all night blooming flowers are in white color. In night, white color flowers are seen very easily, and that is how they attract moths. So moths are also very good pollinators. Here you can see we call it as bee hummingbird hawk moths. These moths look like small hummingbird and they are the fastest lepidopterans flying, and you can see during the flight they are releasing their proboscis and feeding on nectar. And these two hawk moths photograph was captured by one of my friend Gautam. Thanks to him for these wonderful photos. Next, sericulture and economic value. Think there is silk industries, silk boards, Ministry of Sericulture, small scale industries and other industries. Just imagine if there was no organisms called moth, silk moths, silkworms, what would have been, which is feeding millions of people in India. because of only sericulture people are getting food. So not only they are ecologically important, economically also they are valuable. Only few moths are reared, and from those caterpillars only we extract this silk. So moths are important in terms of nature. They give arts beauty. They feed different organisms. They also pollinate. They also give silk. How to attract these moths? How can we do moth watching? The best idea is to plant all these plants, moths and butterflies, be it tomato plant, Pongamia pinnata, brinjal plant, castor plant, oleander varieties. We say like pink kanagle, pink color, white color, yellow colors, all those different oleander varieties, or mango tree, different ficus varieties, be it banyan tree, peepal tree, and Vinca rosea, Ixora, jasmine, hibiscus, mulberry plant. Especially those who are doing sericulture, they plant this mulberry plant to attract caterpillars and they feed their rear. Different moths and butterflies have different host plants, so they have understood. Along with these host plants, you plant a tulsi or a rose plant and different host plants. Moths have understood. They don't feed on aloe vera. They all know girls use aloe vera for their skin and hair. They don't feed on tulsi plant. Moths have understood that tulsi is mom's product. Let us not feed on tulsi. So you plant different plants. You can have your guests. Do not kill caterpillars and complain there are no moths and butterflies. We are developing a moth garden or a butterfly garden to attract these insects. So no need to kill those caterpillars. Next, avoid pesticides or insecticides in gardening. The moment we see some caterpillars, my god, we get scared and we kill them or we use pesticides. Think that only if you let a caterpillar grow, it forms into a cocoon or pupa from which the adult emerges out. And encouraging planting more host plants. We have in our state, which is first private butterfly park, Sammilan Shetty's Butterfly Park in Belwai, Moodbidra region. And I was fortunate enough to visit this wonderful person and the place along with my mentor Sri Harish Bhatt sir. We had a good interaction. One of only few private butterfly parks are there, which is this is the Pioneer Butterfly Park. Each and every student must visit during the season, and now is the right season to visit this butterfly park. Next, mothing at our backyard. Planting and attracting is one way. Also, we can set a moth trap or light traps. Just place a white cloth, flash a torchlight or some bulbs or tube lights. Many nocturnal insects get attracted towards light, out of which our moth is also one of the beautiful organisms which we can attract. Many schools can take up as projects. In Bangalore, we encourage this. Set a light trap or a moth trap, just photograph and leave it. No need to kill, no need to harm. We can use our smartphones, use technology to learn ecology, and there is no harm in this activity. And we all can become a citizen, scientist by documenting, observing, and reporting our entries, photographs. National Moth Week is a global citizen science initiative, and I'm also a part of this National Moth Week. Many school students, college students can have this activities. Set a light trap in your terrace or balcony or in garden and see what all insects get attracted. There are few moths, and this is the result. It may not be happen in over days. Wait for a few days or hours. Definitely will have guests. Different moths will get attracted to this light traps. Collecting moth photos, datas. As I said, you can become a citizen scientist or a researcher, and we have various science forums, exhibitions, conferences where students, researchers can publish their work. Even this is also a valid scientific method of observing moths in our own backyard, including school premises, college premises, our terrace, garden, balconies. And we also have one butterfly park which we have created in Alva's engineering college campus in Mood-Bidre. We have planted all different host plants here, and you can see butterfly structures just to attract. And we have different, more than 70 to 80 butterflies have been documented, along with few moths and few odonates. Creating a butterfly garden is like creating a small ecosystem kind. We can see different interactions. There are different odonates which come to hunt butterflies. There are different spiders which come to feed on these butterflies, different birds. So you create a small butterfly garden or a moth garden right from a small pot to a plot of land. You can have your own butterfly garden or a moth garden. That's it. Keep observing moths. Don't kill them. Start focusing on documentation, observation, and any doubts, I'll be happy to take. Any questions? I thank Mysore Science Foundation team, especially Manjula ma'am, Santosh sir, for their kind cooperation and this opportunity to interact with students. Any doubts? Now you can post in our group or ask.
ಸಿದ್ದರಾಜ್ ಸರ್ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ
Okay.
ಮಾತ್ ಏನಂತಾರೆ? ಮಾತ್ಗೂ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬಟರ್ಫ್ಲೈಗೂ ಇರೋ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ನ ಒಂದ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್.
ಓಕೆ, ಖಂಡಿತ. ಬಟರ್ಫ್ಲೈಸ್ನ ಚಿಟ್ಟೆಗಳು ಅಂತೀವಿ, ಮಾತ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಪತಂಗಗಳು ಅಂತೀವಿ. ಪತಂಗಕ್ಕೂ ಮತ್ತೆ ಚಿಟ್ಟೆಗೂ ಏನಪ್ಪ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ಆಂಟೆನಾ, ಕೆಮ್ಮಿಸೆ ಏನಂತೀವಿ, ಕೆಮ್ಮಿಸೆ ನೋಡಿದ ಕೂಡಲೇ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗತ್ತೆ. ನಾನು ಪ್ರೀವಿಯಸ್ ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತೋರಿಸಿದ್ದೆ. ಈ ಆಂಟನೆಗಳು ಕೆಮ್ಮೀಸೆ ಅಂತ ಏನಂತೀವಿ, ಈ ಮೀಸೆಗಳು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಪತಂಗಗಳಿಗೆ ಹಿಂದೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಥವಾ ಬಲ ತುದಿ ಎಡ ತುದಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಬಟ್ ಚಿಟ್ಟೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂ ನೇರವಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂಡ್ ತುದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂಥರ ಊದ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋ ತರದ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಬಲ್ಜ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ಪತಂಗಗಳ ಆಂಟನ ಇನ್ನೂ ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ಗಮನಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ತರ ಒಂದು ಪಕ್ಷಿಯ ರೆಕ್ಕೆ ಪುಕ್ಕ ತರ ಕಾಣಿಸುತ್ತೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಗಿಡ ಎಲೆಯ ಆಕಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಎರಡೂ ಸೈಡ್ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಅರ್ಧ ಗರಿ ಅಥವಾ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಗರಿ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ಪತಂಗಗಳು ಮಾತ್ರ ಈ ತರ ಎ ಶೇಪ್ ಅಥವಾ ಜೆಟ್ ಶೇಪ್ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಶೇಪ್ ಆಕಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂರತ್ತೆ. ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಮಾತ್ಗಳು ಈ ತರ ಕೂರೋದ್ರಿಂದನೇ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗತ್ತೆ ಇದು ಚಿಟ್ಟೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಪತಂಗ ಅಂತ. ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಚಿಟ್ಟೆಗಳು ಈ ತರ ಆಕಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಲ್ಲ ಅಥವಾ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಒಂದು ಪೂರ್ತಿ ರೆಕ್ಕೆ ಹರಡಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಥವಾ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ರೆಕ್ಕೆ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ತರ ಒಂದು ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಥವಾ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಹಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅದು ನೋಡಿದ ಕೂಡಲೇ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗತ್ತೆ ಇದು ಪತಂಗನ ಅಥವಾ ಚಿಟ್ಟೆನ ಅಂತ.
ಪಾರ್ಟಿಸಿಪೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಿಮ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳಬಹುದು.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, I am myself Santosh. I am calling from Haveri.
Okay. Good evening, sir. Tell me.
Yes, sir. I want to know what's the difference between like when to the silkworm, whether it is belongs to moth or belongs to butterfly, sir.
Silkworms are moths.
Okay. Sir, and one
These
more
are
thing.
various silk moths. This is one of the silk moth.
Sir, suppose if you want to create a butterfly garden, like which are those plants like we must grow, sir?
You can design in two ways. First, plant few host plants, and next few flowering plants. Right? Ixora, jasmine, hibiscus are flowering plants to attract, and whereas mulberry plants, tomato plant, mango trees, curry leaves, all those are host plants. Again, they also flower, but also they act as food. So if you want to have a butterflies or a moths, first you should provide food source like host plants or good leaves which caterpillars can eat. This is a list of few plants, and apart from these, lime varieties, any lime like wild lime or cultivated lime, those lime varieties, curry leaves, neem trees, the one of the good host plants and nectar plants to attract butterflies and moths.
Sir, Mr. Chaturved, sir.
Yes, good evening.
May I know like your native, sir? You are from North Canada, sir. North Canada.
Close by, sir. Thank you for this personal question. I closely belong to Goa,
Okay.
and we have relatives at Shirali,
In the Bhatkal,
Karnataka district.
Bhatkal Shirali.
Hello?
Sir, it is Bhatkal Shirali. Yes.
Yes, Bhatkal Shirali, correct.
Okay. Konkani, sir, mother tongue.
Hello.
Any other questions?
Yeah, please, if you don't mind, ask the questions related to the subject, and if you have any doubt, and you can ask them. Please help
Chaturved
us.
sir, one question in chat box. In India, how many kinds of moths are there? Which moths are found more in number? Hello, Chaturved sir. Hello. ಹಲೋ ಚತುರ್ವೇದ್ ಸರ್ ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡಿ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್. ಚತುರ್ವೇದ್ ಸರ್ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ.